Steve Harrington has survived demo dogs, the Mind Flayer, Russian torture, and a brutal demo bat attack. But as Stranger Things gears up for its final season, fans are asking the unthinkable question that's been haunting the fandom for months. Will the beloved babysitter finally meet his end in a blaze of heroism? Because Steve's journey from hated jock to fan favorite has been one of the most compelling character arcs in television. This makes him the perfect candidate for the ultimate sacrifice. We're about to trace the cause-effect chain that leads to one heartbreaking conclusion. Steve Harrington might not survive Season 5, and the evidence has been building since Season 1. Here's why the hair might finally fall. When we first encountered Steve Harrington back in Season 1, he wasn't exactly the guy fans were rooting for. He was the stereotypical popular high school boyfriend, cocky, self-absorbed, more interested in parties than people. For many viewers, Steve felt like the shallow jock trope, a background character who'd either fade out or get punished by the story for his arrogance. Most fans expected him to disappear after Nancy inevitably moved on to someone more worthy of her attention. But something extraordinary happened instead. The Duffer Brothers and Joe Keery's performance began peeling back Steve's layers, revealing depth where we expected shallowness. We saw growth, mistakes, but most importantly, genuine redemption. By the end of Season 1, Steve wasn't just Nancy's boyfriend anymore. He was a young man willing to stand up against a Demogorgon, with nothing but a baseball bat full of nails. That moment planted the seeds for what Steve would eventually become, and because of this transformation, he evolved from expendable side character to irreplaceable heart of the group. Season 2 is where Steve's metamorphosis truly took flight, and this evolution is crucial to understanding why he's now in danger. Nancy drifted away. Their relationship ended, and for a moment, it seemed like Steve might fade out of the story completely. Instead of disappearing, he became something far greater, the Protector. His unlikely friendship with Dustin stole the show, turning the former playboy into the group's reluctant babysitter. Those car rides, pep talks, and moments of Steve swinging his bat at monsters transformed him from a side character into the emotional backbone of Hawkins. The transformation continued deepening in Season 3, where Steve went from high school royalty to working at Scoops Ahoy, dressed in sailor stripes and slinging ice cream. On paper, it looked humiliating, but this chapter showed his humility, humor, and vulnerability in ways that made fans fall even deeper in love with his character. His partnership with Robin gave us a whole new side of Steve, the jokester, the loyal friend, the guy who could take heartbreak on the chin and still offer love and support. Fans weren't just laughing at Steve anymore, they were genuinely loving him, which makes his potential fate so much more devastating. Season 4 completed Steve's transformation from cool guy babysitter to full-fledged hero. And this completion is exactly what makes him vulnerable. He dove into the Upside Down without hesitation, fought off swarms of demobats with brutal determination, and risked his life repeatedly for his friends. What started as a shallow jock was now a symbol of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. Therefore, Steve Harrington's journey proves that survival isn't just about beating monsters. It's about who you choose to become when the world falls apart. The problem is, when a character becomes this perfect, storytelling often demands the ultimate price. The Duffer Brothers have established a chilling pattern that points directly to Steve's potential demise. And because this pattern has held true for 4 seasons, it's likely to continue in the finale. Think about the progression. Season 1 knocked off Barb. Season 2 took Bob. Season 3 claimed Billy. And Season 4 sacrificed Eddie. Each season, a fan-favorite character dies to raise the stakes and show the genuine danger of the Upside Down. So with Eddie gone and the final season demanding maximum emotional impact, many fans fear Steve could be next on that devastating list. But here's what makes Steve's situation even more precarious. He fits the pattern perfectly while also breaking new ground. Unlike previous sacrificial characters who were either new additions or secondary players, Steve is core group material. Because he's been with us since the beginning and has the deepest connections to every major character, his death wouldn't just be sad, it would be catastrophic. The symbolism surrounding Steve has been building towards sacrifice for seasons, and since the writers rarely include details without purpose, these elements feel like deliberate foreshadowing. Steve has always been the protector. He shields the kids, fights the monsters, dives headfirst into danger without hesitation. In Season 4, we already saw ominous foreshadowing when he was nearly torn apart by demo bats. He survived, but barely, and that close call felt less like a random attack and more like a warning of what's coming. The fact that he escaped death once makes his next encounter with mortality feel inevitable rather than surprising. Another reason fans' fear for Steve's life connects to his unfinished dreams. And since Stranger Things loves to build hope before crushing it, his confession to Nancy feels like a tragic setup. In Season 4, Steve opened up about his vision of the future. 6 little Harrington kids in a motorhome traveling the world together. It was tender, hopeful, and heartbreakingly specific. But in the language of television storytelling, when a character starts talking about their perfect future, it usually means they're not going to live to see it. If you're enjoying this video and want to see more deep dives into Stranger Things theories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got so much more coming as we head into the final season, and you won't want to miss any of it. The emotional impact of Steve's potential death is precisely why it makes narrative sense. And because his relationships span the entire cast, his loss would create the kind of ripple effect that defines memorable finales. His bond with Dustin would shatter the heart of every fan who's watched their friendship develop. His rekindled connection with Nancy would leave her devastated and guilty. His sibling-like relationship with Robin would destroy the show's most genuine friendship. The kids would lose their protector and surrogate big brother. Therefore, Steve's death wouldn't just affect 1 or 2 characters. It would emotionally devastate the entire ensemble, which is exactly what makes him such a powerful target for the writers. The original creative intent behind Steve's character adds another layer to this theory. And because the Duffer Brothers have never forgotten their initial plans, this could be their chance to complete the circle. Steve Harrington was actually supposed to die in Season 1 when he was still the bully character. The only reason he survived was because Joe Keery's performance was so compelling that the writers decided to keep him around and explore his redemption. Therefore, killing him off in Season 5 would represent a return to their original vision, but with infinitely more emotional weight because of everything Steve has become. This creates a perfect storytelling opportunity, taking a character who was meant to die as a villain and instead have him die as a hero. Since Steve has completed his transformation from selfish jock to selfless protector, his sacrifice would represent the ultimate fulfillment of his character arc. The beauty of this approach is that it honors both the character's growth and the creator's original instincts, creating a death that feels both surprising and inevitable. The practical storytelling reasons for choosing Steve become clear when you examine the group dynamics and because he occupies such a unique position. He's actually the easiest main character to sacrifice. Steve doesn't have the deep family connections that would complicate his death. We've barely seen his parents, and when we have, they've been absent or dismissive. He's not currently in a romantic relationship that would create ongoing storylines. His primary connections are to the group itself, particularly the kids he's sworn to protect. If those kids were in mortal danger, Steve wouldn't hesitate to trade his life for theirs, making his sacrifice feel organic rather than forced. His lack of external anchors makes Steve narratively expendable in a way that other characters aren't. You can't easily kill Joyce because she's Will and Jonathan's mother. You can't kill Hopper because he's Eleven's adoptive father. The kids themselves are largely protected by their status as the show's heart. Yet Steve exists in this unique space where he's beloved and important to the group dynamic without having the kind of structural story connections that make him untouchable. The way Steve talks about family provides another clue about his potential fate. And because his understanding of family has evolved throughout the series, it sets up a perfect final moment. Steve's dream of having 6 kids with Nancy represents his desire for a traditional family. But his real family has always been the kids he protects: Dustin, Lucas, Max, and the others. So a death scene where Steve realizes that he already had his family, that the kids were always his children in the ways that mattered most, would be both heartbreaking and narratively satisfying. Picture this potential scene. Steve is dying, having sacrificed himself to save the kids, and as Dustin leans down to him, asking about his dreams of having a family, Steve responds that he already had one. They were his family all along. It's the kind of moment that would destroy audiences while providing perfect closure to his character arc. The comparison to other heroic sacrifices in popular culture supports this theory, and since audiences have proven they can accept and even celebrate these kinds of endings when done well, Steve's death could achieve legendary status. Think about Tony Stark in Avengers Endgame, another character who started as a self-centered individual and evolved into someone willing to sacrifice everything for others. The parallel is striking. Both characters began as wealthy, arrogant figures who gradually learned to put others first. Just as Iron Man's death felt like the natural conclusion to his arc, Steve's sacrifice would represent the perfect endpoint to his transformation. The difference is that Steve's death might hurt even more, because we've watched him grow over a longer period and in more intimate circumstances. We've seen him babysit kids, work a humiliating job with grace, and maintain his humor and kindness even when life knocked him down. Because we've witnessed every step of his journey, from villain to hero. Losing him would feel like losing a real person rather than just a character. The foreshadowing elements from Season 4 can't be ignored, and since Stranger Things rarely includes near-death experiences without payoff, Steve's demo bat attack feels like a setup for something bigger. When those creatures nearly tore him apart, it wasn't just a random moment of peril. It was a preview of his vulnerability, and a reminder that even the strongest protectors can be overwhelmed. The fact that he survived that encounter might have given fans false hope, but in storytelling terms, it could have been showing us exactly how Steve might eventually fall. Season 5 represents the Duffer Brothers' last chance to make the kind of bold storytelling choice that defines legendary finales. And because they've built Steve into such a beloved character, his death would provide the emotional weight that separates good endings from unforgettable ones. The show has spent 4 seasons making us love Steve Harrington, watching him grow from someone we wanted to see punished into someone we desperately want to see happy. If they choose to take him away from us in the final season, it won't be for shock value. It will be because his sacrifice means something profound. The beauty of Steve's potential death lies in how it would honor everything he's become, while providing the kind of emotional climax that makes finales memorable. He wouldn't die as the arrogant jock from Season 1. He'd die as the protector, the babysitter, the heart of the group who chose love over self-preservation. The question isn't really whether Steve deserves to survive. Of course he does. The question is whether his survival or his sacrifice would create the more powerful ending. Stranger Things has always been about the cost of heroism and the price of protecting the people you love. Steve's willingness to pay that ultimate price might be exactly what the story needs to reach its emotional peak. As we head toward the final season, the evidence continues mounting that Steve Harrington's time might be running out. So while we can hope that the Duffer Brothers will find a way to give Steve the happy ending he deserves, we should probably prepare ourselves for the possibility that his story ends with the ultimate act of love, giving his life to protect his chosen family. Whether Steve Harrington survives or becomes Season 5's tragic hero, one thing is certain: his fate will define how we remember Stranger Things forever. If you want to stay updated on all our Stranger Things Season 5 theories and analysis as we count down to the finale, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, and let me know in the comments whether you think Steve will make it out alive or if you're preparing for the heartbreak of a lifetime. The final season is almost here, and whatever happens to our beloved babysitter, it's going to be legendary.